10 years in the making, multiple developers, multiple development cycles, and somehow Dead Island 2 is still released in the year 2023, which is an insane thought to me. I've beat the main campaign, currently 60% away through the game. Campaign takes you about 40 to 45% of that way, so I've done some side stuff as well. I want to give my 2 cents on the game. I'm going to do a proper big video once I hit 100%, but until then I wanted to give a quick thoughts and opinions on the game. First things first, I'm just going to throw it out there. If you like Dead Island 1 and Riptide, you're going to enjoy this game. It is literally just a modern version of the game. They haven't fucking revolutionized the wheel or anything. They ain't made any big changes to the franchise. They made a couple of changes. Some of them, most of them good, some of them bad. There's a really good story in there. The combat's amazing. I'm not going to focus on the story too much because you really need to go through it yourself, and I feel like you will enjoy it. But I'll talk a bit on the combat and characters, and a little bit on the story, and just wrap it up. Like I said, the combat-wise, it is literally just modern-day Dead Island. It is very refined. The combat feels nice, smooth, buttery. I love slashing enemies. Hitting them with big weapons also feels just as satisfying. You feel the connection, you feel the slice. The dodging and blocking mechanics make it so much nicer. One of my biggest complaints in the original 2 games was that they had this really clunky walk in and out combat style that didn't really suit the game for me that much. Giving me the dodge or block mechanic, making me choose which one I want to do, I go for the dodge. Really increases the pace of combat. If you really get those dodges down, it really does make the game go faster and makes it so much more enjoyable. I can't stress it enough. I am really enjoying the combat of this game. The new characters, some of them are good, some of them aren't as good. I'm okay with Jacob. I think he can be a bit cringy at sometimes. I feel like some of his jokes don't land all the time, but for the majority of the time I find it really fun and enjoyable with this character. I think Jacob is a fine addition to the group. The one thing I will say about characters is, unlike Dead Island 1 and 2, where they feel really joined together, well, Dead Island 1 and Riptide, where they feel really joined together and like a coherent unit, in Dead Island 2, it feels like whoever you pick is the one that survives the big plane crash at the very beginning of the game, and everyone else just dies. Where in Dead Island 1 and Riptide, it felt like every character lived, and there was progression through the story as a group, where in this, only one person needs to survive for this game to go and continue, which loses a bit of that cooperative nature, if you will. I don't feel like I need any of the other characters ever. They never show up if I don't have them on my group, I guess, while playing co-op, so they don't feel needed. It's just whoever I pick is the main character, and that is it, which I don't like. Dead Island 1 and Riptide really did have it nailed down, where the main cast felt like they were important and all of them were needed at some point. The perk system overhaul, instead of being a skill tree, it is now cards, and instead of characters being streamlined down a certain path, aka Sam B being blunt weapons, Logan being in throwing weapons, Pruna being guns, etc, 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 they all have passives instead. Like, for example, Jacob being a 5 stacking passive, each stack increases damage, means that I can use whatever weapon I want, and I'm not being restricted because all my points are in blunt weaponry. And if I don't like the card setup I have, a quick press of the button and I can instantly switch out my card perks and run around with a different setup that I might enjoy better, might enjoy worse, and I can just switch it back up if I don't enjoy it as much. And also all the superhuman abilities and stuff that you unlock along the way just make it so that the game feels more fresh and unique. I literally boil it down to just being a modern day Dead Island game. That's literally what it boils down to, in my opinion. This is just the modern take, just a modern version of those older games given to us and that's all I needed. That's all I wanted. Anyone going in more than that, I don't think you're gonna have a fun time. If you're looking for something that's going to change the zombie games as you know it and is going to take you by storm, then I wouldn't play this game. You're not gonna enjoy it as much. But if you're looking for just a newer version of the older games, something Dead Island related just to sink your teeth into, then you're going to enjoy this game for a mile long. I can't stress it enough. I've played 18 hours so far. I've beat the main campaign. I'm going through the side stuff now, and the enjoyment for me hasn't wavered. I love killing the zombies. I love finding new weapons. I love the combat. Everything. The story was amazing. The side content is probably for me so far the weakest point of the game, but it's still fun and enjoyable. It just gets a bit tedious at times. So the main campaign, like I said, is probably my favorite part. I really enjoyed it. The side stuff isn't as good as the main campaign in my mind, but sadly the main campaign kind of abruptly ends, setting up for the DLC / content drops they're obviously going to be putting in later on. There's already a season pass. I'm hoping there's some free content as well, as that would be interesting. But for now, there's only the side content that I've got left to do. And like I said, I think I said this at the beginning of the video, once I've got my 100% done, I'm going to do like an hour-long in-depth video of me going through the campaign, the side stuff, and all that stuff in between. This is why this is just a quick one. But the main campaign does end abruptly, setting up for what's happening next. There's a lot of stuff that the campaign kind of goes into later on that doesn't get explained properly and doesn't get its like conclusions. So I'm hoping that these DLC and campaign bits that they bring out later on really fills in the blanks enough that it keeps people interested enough that it makes it interesting enough for another Dead Island game to come out where they can really like finalize and like refine all the problems this game has, because some of the animations aren't the best, and so especially in the gun department, some of the running animations really feel placeholder, but they just didn't really have the time or development cycle to really finalize and fine detail these last couple of things. So it would be nice to see this game succeed enough to a point where we can get a proper up-to-date Dead Island game. But as it stands so far, I'm enjoying every second of it. I would recommend buying it if you want to play Dead Island, but don't want to play the old ones. You want a more modern, up-to-date version, then it's definitely worth a purchase. There's a lot to do in the game. The side content will hold you around for a good chunk of time. The campaign, I would say, is about 10 to 15 hours, give or take, depending if you do any side content on the way there. And so currently I am 60% of the way through the game after doing some more side content. I'm hoping to be 100% by the end of this week, finalizing and finishing everything off. I'm really enjoying it. I really am. Like, I can't express enough how much I'm enjoying this game. Even while going through the side content, I'm just enjoying slashing zombies, enjoying seeing the blood, the guts, and the body parts fly. The gunplay is nicer than it was in the original 2 games. I'm just really having a blast, and I would recommend anyone who really wants to play Dead Island again to grab the game and give it a go. It is really fun. Even though it's not without its problems, obviously there's some glitches that I've ran into. The physics are kind of all over the place on items, and I'm running into some errors every now and again with characters not spawning where they're supposed to be, but I'm going with it's just because I haven't hit the triggers properly or something along those lines. We'll have to wait and see when the hour video comes out, when I've 100% of the game, or as close as I can, depending if it's bugged or not. Will all be worked out eventually. But yeah, pretty much that's like how I feel about the game. Story is decent, even though it abruptly ends. Gameplay is really nice and really satisfying and quick with the dodging and blocking mechanics. The perk cards I think is a really good adjustment to the skill tree system. Characters not being forced down certain build paths is also really nice. Side content could be better, but it is a little tedious, but it is what it is in that regard. Still enjoyable at best and a bit meh at worst. And that's really it. That's Dead Island 2. It's playable. 10 years and it's playable, which is, I didn't think I was gonna play it, so that's a shocking revelation in of itself. But I hope to see you all in Hella at some point, and I'm gonna peace out because I'm gonna play some more Dead Island 2, baby. Peace.